This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to Calm AF. Today we are in part 3 of our decluttering series. So just a quick refresher about this series, why we are talking about this. In a podcast about being calm, why are we talking about clutter? Well, in order to live a calm AF life, you need to be tending to all parts of the whole system, the mind, the body, and the bubble. So in part 1, we talked about decluttering our physical space. Our homes, our cars, our workplaces. This is a part of tending to the bubble. The bubble is that energetic space that surrounds you. And everything within that space is either supporting you or making things harder. In part 2 of the series, we talked about decluttering the mind. This is the thoughts and the stories and the old beliefs and all the things you're keeping track of, everything you've been holding on to for so long that aren't serving you, that are just taking up space in your mind. Because it's really hard to feel inner peace when the thoughts just won't stop. So today we're moving on to part 3, the body component of the Calm AF system, decluttering the body. Now, I think we're all pretty versed in why taking care of your physical body is important. Right? We understand the impact sugar or alcohol or junk food or being sedentary has on your physical body. And the reason why we all know this is because it's the most socially available, the most socially encouraged, the most socially acceptable way that we are taught to take care of ourselves, right? Obviously, we don't want to get sick. Obviously, we want our bodies to feel good. And let's be honest, we can't dismiss the societal narrative that how your body looks determines your worthiness. Right? It's definitely a way that we try to control other people's opinions by how we look. But we're not going to talk about that today, right? We're not going to talk necessarily about the consuming of food or the clutter in your body that is made up with those things, because you already know it. Today, we're going to talk about a different kind of clutter that is taking up so much space in your body. So, if you're a person that feels pretty regularly overwhelmed, stressed, stuck, frustrated, sad, resentful, and your main way of trying to get yourself to feel better is going through that physical body, right? Like, I know that taking care of my body does make me feel better. So, I'm feeling really, really awful. I should probably just, focus really heavily on what I'm eating and how I'm exercising. Okay. If you are a person that says that, and you are a person who is doing that because of how you are feeling, because you're trying to feel better in your body, and if you're not diligently addressing your emotions and the emotional clutter that is built up in your body, you are surface cleaning. Okay? Taking care of your physical body, what you're eating, what you're drinking, how you're moving, is the equivalent of wiping down the counters in a kitchen when the cabinets are shoved full of clutter. Right? It's like, yes, that part looks clean, but what about what's underneath? Okay, that's what we're talking about today, the emotional clutter in the body. And it's not that it's a bad thing to focus on your physical body and what you're eating and all of that, but you can't not be prioritizing just as much, if not more, your emotional clutter. So emotions are physical sensations that occur in the body. Okay, if your physical health is a top priority, you cannot only focus on the food and exercise piece. Emotions are energy that is being created and stored inside of your body. This energy is physically interacting with, it's meshing with your body's chemicals, your body's organs, your cells. It all is impacting the feelings you are having inside of your body are affecting your physical health. And we are learning about that more and more now. So it just reminds me, there was this study that I read. It was a long time ago, maybe like 5-10 years ago. And I tried to look it up to see if I could find it, but I couldn't. But in this study, they divided people into 2 groups. And basically what they were doing was measuring the effects that emotions and stress had on their ability to process and digest and absorb the food they were eating. So in this study, everyone was given the same meal. It was super nutritious, like packed with vitamins and nutrients. And they were going to measure these vitamins and nutrients in the body. So one of the groups sat in a super calm room. The mood was very calm. They had quiet music playing. There was no rush. They had all the time in the world. It was very comfy. The lighting was good, right? That was the first group. They were eating the highly nutritious meal in the calm room. The second group was given the exact same meal, but in a very chaotic environment, right? Like it was very cluttered. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of noise and bright lights and big sounds. They basically stressed their systems out, right? Lots of frenetic energy, and they rushed them through the meal. And so this group was eating the same food, but they felt pressure while they were eating. So once their meals were done, they took their blood and measured their physiological changes. And what you can expect, the things that I would expect would have happened was the group that was in the calm room, like the blood pressure was great, the heart rate was good, and the other group, it was high, right? I would assume that their blood pressure was going to be higher, their heart rate was going to be faster, they would be more stressed out than the people in the calm room. But that wasn't the most interesting part of the study, in my opinion. The most interesting part is that when they tested their blood, what they discovered was that the stressed out group didn't get any of the benefits of the food that they had eaten while they were stressed out. None. I was assuming it'd be maybe 50%. No, it was 0%. Okay, so, and I want you to think about why this is. I've talked about this so many times when we talk about your nervous system. If you are walking around in a state of chronic stress, in that fight or flight, all of the rest of the systems in your body that are necessary for survival are going to slow or shut down. Okay, so basically, this study proved that it really didn't matter how perfectly healthy you're eating or how strong and fit your body is. If your body is full of stress and emotional clutter, your healthy food might as well be Cheetos. Okay? This, again, is why if you are prioritizing your physical health and you aren't including your emotional health, you are not making that just as important for you to be tending to, you may be spinning your wheels. Okay? That your physical health might not be as good as it is just because of what you're eating and drinking if you are not tending to your emotions. Okay? Also, again, what we are very much seeing now is that most of the health conditions and diseases and unwellness that we see the most in our world today are directly linked to stress. Okay, and where does stress come from, right? Yes, it's by circumstances, but it's also by all of this unprocessed emotion. So I just pulled this out. I'm just going to read this study instead of trying to summarize it. I'm just going to read what it says. So this was a study published in the National Library of Medicine, and it says, emotional stress is a major contributing factor to the 6 leading causes of death in the United States. Okay, this is emotional stress. Major contributing factor to the 6 leading causes of death in the United States: cancer, coronary heart disease, accidental injuries, respiratory disorders, cirrhosis of the liver, and suicide. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the U.S. estimates that stress accounts about 75% of all doctors' visits. This involves an extremely wide span of physical complaints, including, but not limited to, headache, back pain, heart problems, upset stomach, stomach ulcer, sleep problems, tiredness, and accidents. And according to the Occupational Health and Safety News and the National Council on Compensation of Insurance, didn't know that was a thing, up to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians or for stress-related complaints. Again, does the food you're eating and the movement you are doing matter? Of course. But 90% of what we are dealing with is directly related to our emotional stress levels. Declutter your diet, take care of your body, but I beg of you, stop putting your emotional health, your mental health second, right? We've got to stop ignoring that emotional clutter that has been gathering dust in your body that is currently, right now, affecting your cells and your health. Most of us humans have a body that is chock full of emotions that haven't seen the light of day in years, decades. So many emotions that you have just been shoving down in your body, not letting out, shoving down. I picture you putting them in a box, taping that box shut, and putting it down in the basement, right? Since you were a little bitty kiddo, that's where your emotions have been stored. They are now clutter. And the reason why is because we aren't taught how to feel our feelings. We're taught how to shove them in the basement. We're taught how to energy manage. We're taught how to people please. We're taught how to dismiss our own feelings or put them off or distract ourselves from them so that we never have to learn to manage our own. You're sad? Oh no, how can I make you not sad? What can I do to make you feel not sad? I can't bear to see you sad. It hurts me to see you feeling sad. You're hurting me, right? It's bad to feel sad. Let's hurry up and get rid of it. Or what else did we hear? Even about what we would call positive feelings, happiness, being proud. Do you ever remember feeling proud about something and then really understanding that you probably shouldn't express that emotion? Right? It's great that you feel proud, but listen, make sure no one else sees you expressing pride because that might make them feel bad. And also, who do you think you are anyway? Right? Really? You're going to feel proud. You're going to feel embarrassed. All of these things, we are not taught with whether it's good, bad, or neutral emotions. We aren't taught to express them. We are really taught how to show them in an appropriate way or shove them down. Just think. Think about all the situations, all the traumas, all the pain, all the joy you have felt in your life that you weren't actually able to feel. It came up and you're like, whoop, shut it down. All of that emotion, if it hasn't been released, is currently being stored in your body. Think of all the boxes, a whole lot of emotional clutter we got. Now, we're going to start talking about decluttering it, and just the thought of this might feel overwhelming. You're like, have I ever really felt a feeling? I want you to remember this. It might feel like an overwhelming project, just the same way sometimes physical decluttering of your space feels overwhelming. The trick really is to understand that this isn't a one and done project. This isn't something you're going to just do over the weekend, right? And there are a lot of boxes that are interconnected with other boxes, meaning, I'll give this example. When I was decluttering my basement, after opening and going through every single box item by item, I started getting pretty good at recognizing that there were some boxes that I didn't need to go through. I could just get rid of, right? How many boxes of paperwork from, 1995, how many boxes of those do I really have to go through before I realize I don't need anything in this box? The same thing is going to happen as you go through your emotional clutter, the feelings that are in each box. You don't have to go through every single time you've ever felt sad and shoved it down. You just have to learn how to declutter sadness, how to feel it, basically. Okay, so let's talk about how to emotionally declutter your body. First, I want to just emphasize and encourage you that if this episode or any of these episodes resonate with you and you are feeling pulled to actually do this, right? Not to just learn about emotional decluttering, but actually do it in your real life, for real, for life, for good, you need to get on into Calm AF Life. That's the lifetime program that I run. We have calls like 1,000,000 times a week. There's a course, there's all the things. But in the group, in the program, you will learn not only the concepts at a deeper level, but you will just have a shit ton of support so that you don't just learn about it, you actually do it. You actually make the changes, right? I don't want these podcast episodes to just be mental and emotional clutter for you. Boo! We are decluttering. We are practicing all of these Calm AF tools every day in the group. It's where the desire for a Calm AF life manifests by getting constant reminders, by being in the repetition of like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Okay. I can help you. I can help you directly, but only if you let me. Only if you let me in. So you are invited. The door is always open for you to come on in and join Calm AF Life. The link is in the bio. So that's what I want to say before, right? Like this isn't a thing that I think we do on our own. In order to be able to declutter these shoved down feelings, before we start, there is some prep work, right? Just like in the physical clutter episode, there is some prep work that needs to happen. Okay, so before you actually start decluttering your emotions, you want to go into this process understanding why you have accumulated all of this emotional clutter, why you have shoved down your feelings for most of your life instead of feeling them. You need to get familiar with your emotional origin story. So again, in Calm AF Life, there's a module that is about figuring out your emotional origin story. It goes way deep into the questions to ask yourself to learn this. But in a nutshell, you are just figuring out your story about your emotions, about each emotion. You're getting clarity on where you learned that it wasn't okay for you to feel anger, or who taught you that sadness was bad and like they just gave you presents or food or whatever to try and make you happy. You need to know why you learned it. You need to know when you learned it so you don't have the confusion. You're going to also learn in that emotional origin exercise why other people's emotions also feel so overwhelming for you, why you feel the need to like go and energy manage, right? Energy managing is simply a way for you to control other people's feelings so you don't have to control your own, right? So learning your origin story, it's super common for people to be like, oh, I get it. The reason why I get so triggered when my husband gets flustered is because in my family of origin, any expression of anger was kind of viewed as like weakness or like, shouldn't you be able to control yourself? It was very shameful. You don't know that if you don't figure out what your origin story is. It just helps create clarity. You will learn a lot about where your energy managing, people-pleasing, perfectionism stems from when you take the time to do this prep work of learning your origin story. All right, so that's the prep work. On to the actual work of emotional decluttering. So, in a nutshell, what is emotional decluttering? It is pulling up your feelings that you have shoved down, going through them, and learning what you're going to keep and what doesn't need to stay. Right? You're going into all of the stuff that you've just shoved down and don't use anymore, and it's old, and you're getting rid of this. You are learning how to process and feel your feelings. And I call it the feelings room. Okay? So let me just give an example of what the feelings room looks like. Let's say one day you notice you're feeling sad. And usually when you feel sad, you are going to distract yourself. Right? You're just going to be like, oh, I better stay busy so I don't have to notice the sadness, or I better start eating because sometimes that makes me feel better, or I'm going to scroll so I don't have to pay attention to the sadness I'm feeling. Right? That's usually what you do, but not anymore. Not anymore, because now you are relentlessly committed to creating a Calm AF life. You are relentlessly committed to not being stuck. So you make the decision to go ahead and take that sadness and head into the feelings room. Now, before you actually open the door and walk in to process this feeling, the first thing always is nervous system first. You've got to walk in with a regulated nervous system. This is another thing that I will teach you of like all of the thoughts you can take with you that can create a regulated nervous system about feelings so that you can walk in feeling prepared and feeling safe. Right? If you walk in and you're freaked the fuck out, this exercise of the feelings room is going to feel like torture. Like you're just going to like white knuckle your way until you can finally leave. So before you walk in, you've got to get that nervous system regulated by reminding yourself the truth about feelings, which is basically they aren't dangerous. Uncomfortable? Sure. But not any reason for your sympathetic nervous system to be sounding the alarms and putting you into fight or flight, right? You're just going to walk in here and feel a feeling, and then you're going to come out and life is going to be fine, okay? You're not in the feelings room to fix the feelings because feelings aren't for fixing. We don't need to fix feelings. We don't need to solve for feelings. We just need to feel them. That's it. This is how we make feelings so much more complicated than it is. Because if there's stories, then you go and you figure out what the stories are and you rewire them. But your feelings, all you have to do is learn how to feel them. That's all they're there for, to feel. You're not here to shove down the feelings. You're here to experience the feelings. Okay. So your nervous system is regulated and you are walking into the room. And all you need to do in the room is just you and your box with your feeling, right? You and your box of sadness. And you're just going to notice. You're just going to engage with it. You're just going to experience it. How does this feeling feel in your body? Where in your body do you feel sadness when you let yourself feel it in this safe, protected room? Is it in your heart? Do you feel it in your throat? Do you feel it in your stomach, in your jaw? Where does it show up for you? What does it feel like? Like, how would you describe it? And I really encourage people to describe it in as much detail as you can so that you can almost picture it like an object. Like if you were to hold sadness in your hands, how would you describe it? Is it like, does it have a color? Is it heavy? Does it fast? Is it like hard to hold on to? Does it feel sharp? Does it feel dull? Is it spiky? Like what does this sadness feel like if you had to describe it as an object? Okay? So you're just sitting here. You're not trying to solve anything. You're just getting to know sadness so that you don't have to be afraid of it. And once you're just allowing this feeling to exist within you, in the room with you, you start asking questions. So, sadness is here. Why? What's the feeling of sadness here for? What's the information it is here to share with me? Because that's all feelings are doing, is sharing information with you. It's the only way your body can communicate with you. So why is sadness showing up, making an appearance here? Is it just because something sad happened and I just need to feel the feelings? Am I thinking of a story? Am I thinking of something that I might have to do in the future or that I've done in the past? What is creating the feeling of sadness? And then once you know that information, again, we're not here to solve the problem. We're just here to experience, to release the clutter from the body, right? And you do this by physically releasing the feeling from your body. You trust. Everyone's like, well, what should I do? Should I sit still? I want you to know it just depends, and it's going to be different for everyone. All you need to do is trust your body and your intuition, because it will tell you how it wants to be released, right? Sometimes sitting and having your hands on your heart and just deep breathing, sometimes that is the way that this emotion is going to be able to like come up, out, and through and be released, this clutter. Sometimes you got to move it out, right? Sometimes it's going for a walk, or it's through jumping or shaking your body, your hands, your arms, your legs. Sometimes it's through your mouth. It's through screaming. It's through singing. It's through yelling. Sometimes it's through, the typical ways we think about it, through crying. But it's really not more complicated than that. The actual feeling of feelings, like I said, is simply allowing the energy of the feeling to move out and through you, to be released. You don't have to think about it at all, other than why is it here and how does my body want to release it, right? Feelings are just to be felt. That's all you have to do when you go in the feelings room. And this is how you release emotional clutter. You just keep going in, pulling out a box, feeling it on purpose, going through the steps. I'm just going to feel this. I don't need to figure anything out or solve the problem in order to release it. It's just a thing that needs to be released. Here's the best part about releasing emotional clutter. When you start engaging with your feelings on purpose, like you're actually going into the feelings room, you're like, I'm going to get more comfortable with the feeling of sadness or whatever it is. Instead of what you usually do, which is reactively shoving them in a box and, to be stored indefinitely in your body, the fear around them dissipates. When you just start being familiar, this is sadness. Oh, this is what anger feels like. Oh, this is what guilt. It's like, no big deal. It's just a feeling. I don't have to be afraid of it. I don't love it, right? Like I don't love when sadness shows up, but I'm not afraid of it because I'm familiar with it, because I spend time, yes, taking care of my physical body, but also taking care of my emotions. Hey, here's what sadness feels like. Let's not shove it down. Let's go ahead and release it. Doesn't really even matter why it's here. I might learn some information, but the most important part of releasing emotional clutter is simply releasing it, feeling the feeling. And listen, think about this for a minute. What happens when you aren't afraid of your feelings anymore, when you aren't afraid of being afraid, when you aren't afraid of feeling uncertain, when you aren't afraid of feeling anger or sadness or guilt or feeling stuck? When you aren't afraid of the feelings, you're not going to keep accumulating them in your body. You don't need to put them in a box and shove them down anymore. You don't need to keep yourself busy the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, so that you don't have any time to feel the feeling. You don't need to numb out with food or alcohol or drugs or screens or shopping. You won't need to shut down the whole system because you simply can just feel the feeling and let it be on its way. And when sadness shows up, you don't have to go to those old self-sabotaging behaviors. You're just like, oh, sadness. It's not scary. It's not my favorite, but it's not scary. I'm not going to shove it down. I'm not going to put it in a box. I'm not going to add to the clutter. I don't do that anymore. Now, because I am relentlessly committed to a Calm AF life, I'm just going to take a few minutes here to go ahead and feel it, because I will not add more clutter to this body. That's how I can take care of it. And that is how you declutter your body, your emotions. It's super simple. It's just not something you've done before. You just got to feel the feelings on purpose. This will help you simultaneously declutter what's in there already, get rid of that old shit that's maybe a lifetime old, and not accumulate more. All right, gorgeous soul. Get in there. Get in that feelings room. Take the boxes out. Let them see the light of day, dust them off. It's not as scary as you think. It's just getting used to feeling the discomfort of a feeling. That's it. All right. Love you so much. Join us in Calm AF Life and go deeper. The link is in the bio, or you can go to KristenFinch.com. Love you so much. See you next time. If you love this podcast, you will love Calm AF Life. It's a self-paced, lifetime access DIY course that teaches you all the concepts that I talk about here, from nervous system regulation to manifesting with ease. And since we know that true change doesn't happen just because you know what to do, you also get an all-access pass to coaching calls and accountability so you don't stay stuck and you don't give up. The best investment you could ever make is in yourself. Calm AF Life is here for you now. Life's not waiting. Let's get you aligned with your Calm AF self, gorgeous soul. I cannot wait to meet you. Go to KristenFinch.com and join me today.